Hello viewers, having baby is not easy. Marriage and sex. The topic for today is sex before marriage. I welcome everybody. This is the Wise Builders. The Wise Builder is a channel that we talk about how to build our homes, how to build our families, how to build our relationships, community, church culture. And I'm giving us a background music from Oyeka Onwenu and King Soniwade. Wait for me. If you love me, you wait for me. Having sex is something that we have to think very deeply before we go into it. You're welcome. If you love me, you'll plan with me. You'll plan this thing called marriage with me. You'll wait for me, baby plan. Young man out there, if you're in a relationship, young women out there, ladies, you're in a relationship, if you love your spouse, you have to wait. Sex before marriage is what we are talking about today. How important is sex before marriage? Should we go into sex? Is this something that we have to engage in? Or is this something that we have to think twice before going into it? It's a live show today, and I want you to call in, wait for me, and plan with me. If you know you want to go into this thing called marriage, you have to think about sex. I don't know what you are there, but I have to tell you that sex is very, very important. But should we engage in sex before marriage? Thank you very much. That's the live stream from Oyeka Owenu and King Soniade on a title called Wait for Me, Baby Plan with Me. I want to marry you. It's important. You know, we're courting, we're dating, but wait for me. Today I'm doing a live broadcast on sex before marriage. And the telephone line this night is open. It's 074-280-72162. Call us on 074-280-72162. Should we engage in sex before marriage? You know, this is a topic that is very, very controversial. And I'll give us a few insights into what sex is all about. Sex itself is all about relationship. Without sex in a relationship, a man and a woman relationship we are talking about now, as it is ordained, whether you met it, whether you know about it, whether you believe about it, but it's something that binds a man and a woman together. So talking about sex now, how should a relationship get to? What stage or percentage should a relationship get to before you engage or we engage in sex? Nowadays, most of us believe that sex has to consummate a relationship. your spouse or your couple, or you're a couple, and both of you, or three of you, or four of you, or five of you, or whatever relationship you are, you've gone into that relationship for a while, and you start thinking there's pressure from your side on whether to have sex or not. So what stage should you get to before you go into relationship? That's what we are all about this night. So you can call us on 074280726162. Should we engage in sex? What are the advantages of sex before marriage? What are the disadvantages of sex before marriage? I tell you, both has its advantages and disadvantages. I counsel some couple and some young people nowadays. Some of them believe they want a tester. They want to test their spouse before going into marriage. We've got situation whereby people get married even in church, in community, and they find out that the guy or the woman, most of the time, the guy they are married to is impotent. Impotency means it's unable to satisfy them sexually, it's unable to perform. So this kind of relationship, is it allowed? So we are debating this night, is a live stream about a debate. Should we engage in sex before marriage? What do you think are the disadvantages or the advantages? Sex is the way for individuals to bind themselves in a total relationship or commitment. It's a place whereby two people, single loving people, come together for the rest of their lives. And this thing called sex is what binds them together. So you are there, or you have a daughter, or you've been in a marriage, or you are still in a relationship now, and there's pressure on you to engage in sex before marriage. Is this right? It's not for me to condemn you. I'm not here to condemn or to judge anybody. We are just deliberating to find out if this is actually right. It's something that we can engage in. You know, sex is for procreation. And when we are talking about procreation, we are talking about things bringing out children. So most of us have turned it into recreation. So this night, I want you to call us on 074280726162. Should we engage in sex before marriage? Should we engage in sex before marriage? You know, like I said earlier on, is a way of couples binding themselves together. It's all about marriage and family. So we are saying don't engage in it. If you say don't engage in it, how can we consummate this relationship? Do we consider sex before marriage immorally wrong? Do we think this is wrong? I want to sleep with my husband. I want to find out, or my spouse, or I'm dating somebody, and I want to find out whether he's sweet. I want to know if we are compatible. I want to know whether he can satisfy me on bed. This show is all about that this night. Call in, call us, and let us know. Let us deliberate if it's something that we can do. I want to go into the Bible, but before I go into the Bible, I want to tell us again one more time that we should try as much as possible to call in 074280726162. That's our hotline this night, 074280726162. Should we engage in sex before marriage? This thing called sex, should it be enjoyed? What if I deny my spouse sex and he decides to leave me? What will I do? 1 Corinthians 7:2 says, nevertheless, and I'll go into the Bible, pending the time someone is going to call. You're welcome, viewers. Thank you very much. I can see that 4 people have joined us live. Thank you very much. If you want to call us this night, please call in as we talk about sex before marriage. You know, call us on 074280726162. 074280726162. Should we engage in sex before marriage? Like I was saying to us earlier on, 1 Corinthians 7:2 says, nevertheless, I'm reading, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and every woman have an own husband. Thank you very much. Somebody is calling in. There's a caller here. Hello, this is the Wise Builders.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm putting you on speaker for our viewers to hear you. Thank you. Good evening. Our topic this night is sex before marriage. Do you agree or disagree? And your contribution.
I do agree. It's always good to try the mind before you go into the relationship, because you don't know what you are entering. So it's always advisable to test whether the person is capable or not. It's not only financial aspects we're talking about or comfort. If the marriage is not always sound in everything, it's not always good to go in. So I believe it's always good to try the person before you go into the marriage.
So you feel that if you're dating somebody now, what you're saying is you have to test the person before you go. I've got somebody online now that is saying to us that from our own point of view, it's not about money and any other thing, that she feels she has to test the man to know what do you want to find out from the man before you go into the relationship, please.
It depends on how active the guy is. If the guy is not really active, and if you're a lady that you are really high, then it's not the right person. I'm not saying money is all, but you want to know whether the guy is okay for you in all things.
All right. So
from my own perspective, I believe it's always good for women to try it to see whether it's what they want or not.
Wow. So a woman should try out the man to see whether it is what they want or not. What if, can I ask you a question, madam? What if you try it and it's not what you want? So how many men would you try? Fortunately, you're a woman. I like it. I'm not judging you. I'm just trying to say, like, how many women would you try out before you are satisfied? Let's assume you've got a high passion and the man doesn't have a high passion. We've got another caller. So how many men will you try out?
If I'm not satisfied with something, I won't sit there. I won't be happy. I will try something else. Maybe second one might be a good one for me.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got another caller. Thank you. I think that caller is gone. The person might try to call. Sorry, please try and call us back in 074280726162. You know, thank you very much, caller. We missed that call as we're trying to round up on this. The last caller said something about, okay, I think the person is coming in. Thank you. Hello, the Wise Builder. Sex before marriage is our topic this night. What do you think about it? Hello? Hello? Sorry, we lost the person. We didn't get that. That wasn't very clear. This is the Wise Builders. What we are trying to say, I have some people. Okay, the person is calling back. We don't know if it's a he or she. Hello, this is the Wise Builder. You're welcome. We're talking on sex before marriage. Okay. I can hear you clearly that you want to ask a question to buttress. Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. God bless you. Okay, this is a question that the gentleman is asking. I don't bother to ask people their name or that. The person said is a minister and they counsel this couple not to have sex, and they didn't have sex, and after they married, they find out that the man is impotent. So if you have any advice, please call in on 0742807162. We are talking about, thank you very much, caller. That's very, very good. I'm going to talk later on that. But if we have anybody with any suggestion on this, sex before marriage, it does happen nowadays. What the caller said is what has happened, and I've not seen it directly. Situation like that, whereby couples were counseled and then they got married without sex, and they find out that the man is impotent. What should we do? I personally think, because of time, gentlemen that call, thank you very much for your contribution. I personally think, as a minister of God, such a relationship was based on lies and deceit. You know, this is getting so deep. It's the other aspect that most of us ministers, we don't try to talk about deceit in marriages. If sex before marriage, I'm of the opinion that it's not allowed, but I stand to be corrected. We've got two callers. Thank you very much. So what the last person was talking about, which is a minister, I guess, because he said he counseled that person. So from the tone, I guess that person is a minister of God. Said something that the guy deceived the lady and he was impotent. And the girl, after the marriage, the lady found out that that man was impotent. That kind of a situation is a very, very difficult one. And it was putting that woman into a difficult situation. I will say such marriage, not I, like Paul said, not the Lord, like Paul said, but I will say that marriage was built on falsehood, and it should be dissolved. You know, this is the wise builders. If you base a lot, nowadays, a lot of marriages are entered in on deceit, you know, and people after that, after the marriage, knowing fully well that after the marriage, you cannot divorce, then what they do after that is they now just open the package after the marriage to tell you that, you know what, it's happened, you just have to take me, I'm impotent. And they pretend, some of them try to pretend that they do not know that the impotence was there. So if such is the case, I will say the marriage, there's no way you will be impotent. Somebody asked me, a young guy asked me some time ago that being a single guy and he's never tasted any woman, how would you know that you are impotent? Which is very true. I suppose as a man, when you start reaching puberty at some stages in life, you notice that your manhood, your penis, sorry if you allow me to use that, yeah, will start having erection. So if you're a man and you're in your adulthood or after puberty, you don't have erection, you are impotent. So don't pretend that you do not know you are impotent. Please call us on 074-2807-2162. This is the Wise Builder, and we are talking about sex before marriage. So to the last caller, I will say the marriage was built on falsehood. So they should dissolve that marriage. Not the Lord, but I. But one thing we have to find out that there are some things in the Bible that was not covered under the time of the Bible, such as deceit, lies to enter into marriages. So these kind of things, under the direction of the Holy Spirit, the ministers in church will pray and wait on the Lord and ask for direction. So if I go back to our topic, thank you very much for your contribution, the two contributors, sex before marriage. You know, 1 Corinthians 7:2 was talking that because people cannot control themselves, and so many of them were having immoral sex acts after marriage. That's why marriage is to enjoy sex. The essence of marriage, if you don't know, is to procreate, to have children, to enjoy sex, you to come together, to be one, to have a companionship. That is the essence of all these things that we are calling. But sex nowadays has been used as a recreational basis, whereby it's just for enjoyment. And our young people nowadays, they believe if they don't trap their guy with sex, some even read books, some watch movies to teach them about sex. Concern about this thing is when we engage in sex before marriage, the guy will test you. And like the woman said earlier on, the first caller that called in, thank you very much. Those two contributions are very, very important. Such woman, if you do things like that, the man, how many men are you going to test? You know, but the essence of us to control our sexual desire, that is the reason why the ordination of marriage. So marriage is honorable. Define our bed. That is at the advantage of sex. But unfortunately now, most of us, we use sex as a bait for marriage. And nowadays, there's a lot. I'm going to run through these advantages. Advantages of sex before marriage. It brings dignity and respect for the woman or the man. Because you have labored for these things, so you cherish it. It gives honor to your bed and your body. You know that you did not play yourself cheap. You know, when your bed is not defiled, you can brag to your husband that after all, even your husband or your wife will cherish you because they knew you kept your body. You know, Proverbs 5:19 was talking about enjoyment of sex with pleasure. There's a lot of pleasures in sex. So please, sex is there for us to enjoy, but it is not a food that we have to go into. You have to think very well about it before you go into it. Call us on 07428072162. Tonight we are talking in sex before marriage. Is it advisable? Is it a good thing? Do you agree? Nowadays there's a gentleman that called in. Thank you very much, viewers. We've got 7 viewers now. You know, there was a gentleman that called in that, okay, he believes sex should be allowed because from his tone, I think the minister of God. I suppose nowadays, because of the evils and the social ills in the community, most people are gearing towards sex before marriage, testing it. And even myself as a pastor, that's why I threw this topic open. It's a very complicated story. If I want to become too Christianese or too spiritual now, I will say, oh, it's not allowed. Sex is not allowed before marriage. That is the ordination of God. But because of what is now happening in this society, in our community, beg your pardon for that. Because of what is happening now, we tend to know that people are not genuine. They are not who they are. So please call us please this night on 07428072162. This is Wise Builders. We're talking on sex before marriage. And I'll go on talking about the disadvantages and advantages of sex before marriage. It gives us dignity, it gives us from unity. The man is able to treasure us, he sees us, and he knows, oh, this is what he has worked for, and is able to try to keep that thing and to cherish it. So if you have not married, please try as much as possible to keep your body. Now I'll go on to talk about the disadvantage. I'm even going to ask any question out there if you want to call in. Is sex before marriage? Do you think it is sexually immoral? You know, is it immorality? Is it a sin? You know, it could be, maybe you think morally it's wrong, or whether it's a sin against God. Before I give an answer, I'm going to go on to talk about the disadvantages of sex before marriage. I try to speak about the advantage. So one of the disadvantages of sex before marriage, thank you very much. We've got a caller coming in, thank you. Builder, sex before marriage. That's our topic. Thank you very much for calling in. Thank you. Good evening, sir. We seem to have men this night.
I have a question to ask these topics before marriage. I feel, though the Bible says that, there should not be, made before marriage, but if I have a girlfriend and then it's a girl I'm going to marry, I don't think there's any problem in we're living together, because I know that we're definitely going to marry, and have children.
Oh, hold on. What you're saying, sir, is you feel there's no problem. You don't see any problem in it. If you have a girl you're going to marry and both of you are living together, you made the intention that you're going to marry such person, you don't see any reason why you should not have sex before your marriage, sir. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we know ourselves. We know we're going to, getting married.
You know yourselves, you know you're going to get married. Let me ask you a question, sir. Should you decide or something now happen and both of you do not marry, yourselves and you love yourself, but we've seen marriages of 10 years that even after that, knowing themselves for 10 years, something happens. But in your own case, it's just courtship, and you think you know yourselves, and eventually you did not marry yourself. So what will now happen, sir? Can I just ask you, sir?
Well, at that point, things can happen and things doesn't work. We just pray that God forgives us and life goes on in there.
That's the problem we have nowadays. For us to think that, okay, we've done this, you've done it, the presumption thing. You've you've done it deliberately. You know that God says in the Bible that this thing is not acceptable. Then you went into it, you've done it, and it doesn't work. And that's what we have nowadays in churches, in the community. I was just talking about disadvantages. It's a lot of single parenthood, single mothers, children that doesn't have fathers, because of what you have just said now. You think you're going to marry, sir?
I need to say, especially in this country now, that it's so difficult, rent to be hard and all that.
Okay, are you in UK, sir?
Yes, I'm in UK.
From your number, I've seen you are in UK. Thank you very much for tuning in. Okay. Okay.
I feel it would be easy for me to go on, for us to live together, so that the bills can be a bit easier.
Okay, what the gentleman is saying is, with such thing, for example, life in UK, it's easier when you cohabit, you live with a woman or a man, just to increase. Yeah, I know all these things are the reason why even Christians now, I know these are the reason why they go into sex before marriage. But is it justifiable, sir? That's what we are trying to say. What you are saying has increased a lot. Let me use that to talk about the disadvantages. It's a lot of single pregnancy, single motherhood, unwanted pregnancies, children going out without parents. Just because you need to pay bills. I think sex is not for recreation, sir. One of the things you have just said now is you use sex as a result to meet your end, to meet your need. You're in UK, you don't have papers, for example, sorry to say, and your spouse has it, so you move together, you start. I had a couple that their church could not know, and by my profession, they came to me regarding their status, and they came, both of them, they will go to church on the same day, and they'll leave the same house. Who are we pretending? And they would enter the church with different cab or different things, just because they do not want the church to know that they started sleeping with themselves. Because you see, in such situation, you know yourself that what you have done is wrong. In a situation, what situation? I think to thank you very much. If you continue to join us, I'm going to talk on that in a minute. My advice to you, sir, if you find yourself in a situation of that you have to stop it. Like I said to you, it is immorally wrong. It is immoral, so it is wrong. And if you go to the Bible, I think it's 2 Corinthians 12:21. I'm going to read from it, and it says, "Unless when I come again," Paul was talking, "my God will humble me among you, and that I shall be well many, which have sinned already, and have not repented of the uncleanness of fornication and lasciviousness, which they have committed." Simply saying that when I come again, as you have said it now, don't do it again. It is immorally wrong. You see, so most of us, we have reasons. I think, you know what you're going to do, sir, you're going to call me. This is getting deep after the broadcast, and we're going to I understand your situation, but we cannot be insane and say grace should abound, sir, because I know you may not want to call me, but you can send me an email if you don't want to reveal your identity. But what you're trying to say is, because of your situation, you can't live on the street. and you don't have status, the woman has status, and you have to live together, cohabit for 2 years. The law says that you live together for 2 years. So then in that case, go to your church and let them marry you. There's nothing wrong with that. The Bible is so clear about it. You know, once you've made up your mind that that is the person you want to marry, instead of doing, if you continue now, you are continuing in sin. So after today, what you can do, young man, is, if I don't know if you belong to a church or not, try and go and get a priest of God or your parents and pay the girl's dowry, and let them consummate your marriage. Consecrate your marriage so that you can continue. Otherwise, you have to leave that relationship, because it's fornication, sir, irrespective of your circumstance. They can do marriages, sir. They can do marriages in absentia. That's a very good one. If you find yourself in a relationship because your status is not regulated and you're sinning, you can send messages home for your parents to say to them, this is the person I want to marry. I say to people, marriage, the most important thing about marriage is when your parents, the Bible says, and so a man shall leave his father and mother. You have to leave. So you have to send a message to your parents that you made a decision to live with this person, so sister so, and they will take the person's dowry. Once that is done, your marriage has been conducted before heaven, and then the next is just for a minister of God to sanctify it. So you should do that, sir. You should not, if you know you have a genuine intention, you don't just want to chop clean out, or because you want to use that for papers, you should please, sir, with immediate effect, stop this immoral act of sleeping with her. Where you are sleeping with her is against the scripture. I'm a pastor, so at the end of the day, whatever I say gets down, in as much as I'm not judging anybody, my contribution gets down to that. Okay, sir. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. God bless. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye. It's the wise builders. That is very interesting. This night, the gentleman was saying he has a complication. He's not working. He does not have status where he's living. And then the wife is the one that has status. And then we are saying, don't marry. Don't have sex. God believes that we use sex to keep the marriage. You know, all the viewers this night that have called in, which is very interesting, and I like this now, are on the topic of sex should be allowed before marriage. I beg to differ, because I'm on sex should not be done before marriage. Call us on 074-280-72162. This is the wise builders. Should we allow sex before marriage? Nobody seems to be talking about the disadvantages of sex before marriage. What every caller is talking about this night is that we should allow sex before marriage. Nobody is talking about the ills, the disadvantages, which I will talk about this night. You know, when before, in the times of our period, there's nothing like AIDS and all these sexually transmitted diseases. In those years, when our parents sees a man, when the man sees a woman, he makes a decision. He loves, I see genuine beauty in her, and he goes for her. And there's no immorality in those days. Why is it that it is nowadays when we are testing for all our viewers that wants to test? Please stop testing. Oh, sex before marriage is not acceptable. It is against the scripture. That is what, because when you test this man, your semen, spiritual things has transpired between you. From the Bible context, when you sleep with a man, that man automatically becomes your husband. How many husbands have you married? How many wives have you married? Very soon, some of us will say we have spirit husband, spirit wife. These are the men that you have slept with. You have tested to see compatibilities. In those days, there's nothing called compatibility. A man will see a woman, will marry, and they will work it out. Nowadays, because of the fact that we believe that we want to see compatibility, then we pick every little reason to divorce and we leave that marriage. Abortions, you kill unwanted baby, you are not ready, your parents do not know you are having sex, then you commit abortion. You know, it's a lot. Children growing without parents. So I will say, please, sex is not to be allowed before marriage. A question somebody sent to me earlier today, which I wrote down: what if I marry him and I do not enjoy him? The first caller already addressed that, so I won't say much about that. You know, if I'm a virgin, I married him. Usually when you're a virgin, when you marry a man, you enjoy him because you have not tasted any man before. So you be the sweetest thing. It is, you don't enjoy it because you have tasted, big, small, medium. So you have already enlarged. Let me know we are on here. So because of that, now you will not be satisfied. So you have to see a counselor, you have to see a doctor, you have to find out how you can increase your passion, go for tutorials and stuff like that. You know, and finally, you have been doing it before and you don't want to do it again. I've read it to us about 2 Corinthians 12:21. Please, if you have been doing it before, it is immorally wrong. It is wrong. So stop. Sex before marriage is not advisable. It's not right for a Christian, for a child of God. You must present yourself holy and acceptable unto the Lord. You know, it says to us, beloved, let us present ourselves. Your body is the temple of the Most High God. So purify God in yourself. Let no man also, sometimes it's not men, some women are Jackie. They will lure innocent boys. I've seen situations whereby girls have gone and trapped boys and courtship and tell them you have to sleep with me, and the boys are weak, and it's even girls that give him. We're in a very wonderful world nowadays, and it's the girls that give him men tutorial. So please let us be very, very careful. All these things that we said today, basically I will end on the note that 1 Corinthians 6:13 says, meat for the belly and belly for the meat, but God shall destroy both it and them. Now the body is not for fornication, is what you're doing if you're having sex before marriage. Simply put, no other thing is immoral before God, because you are defiling your body. This man will sleep with you, that one will sleep with you, the other one will sleep with you, all in the name of compatibility. I think by the grace of God next week, I'm going to do another topic, which is going to talk about this thing called compatibility. I'm going to send the text messages round tonight. Please call in as usual to let us know this thing called compatibility. Is there anything called compatibility? Should couple be compatible nowadays? If you still call us, we are rounding up in 3 minutes. 074-280-72162. That's the live number for the Wise Builders, for all our contributors this night. This is Dolakba Goradeneyi. I'm saying to us, sex before marriage is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It is moral. It degrades your body. The man does not give you respect because he got you cheap. We handle situations like that every now and then. And the moment the guy realizes that that is what you have done, what the guy does eventually is he makes sure that he dumps you. He doesn't have regard for you. So if we don't have any other caller, I'm going to play for you from King Sonyade and Onye Kanwenu. It's serious affair, my viewers. Think very well before you do it. If you love her, you go plan out where this Sonyade and Onye Kanwenu. Wait for me. Wait for me. If you love me, you wait for me. You don't need to see my underwear before you love me. Girls out there, men out there, please don't sleep with him. Tell him to go and pay your dowry if you're an African, to pay your bride price, to see your pastors. If you make children, yes, if you love me, you go wait for me. So on this note, I'm going to round up this Dolakwa Gradeni on the Wise Builder. Build your home wisely. Build your temple, which is the temple of God in you. Make sure you do not engage in sex before marriage. And if you are doing it, 2 Corinthians 12:21 says, stop doing it. Confess your sin before God. Purify yourself. He's faithful. Whether you've done it before, you are doing it now. At any point you decide that it's enough, that is enough. The God of peace will abide with you. Then If you have never ready, oh, why put them for another person's head? If you are testing, you are putting notes for another person's head. A lot of men have given birth and it's other men that are taking care of their children. It is gross irresponsibility. Let us build our community so we don't have cows, we don't have seeds. We raise godly home, we raise godly altar. Planning. Love me, you go wait for. If you love me, you wait for me. Yeah? So if you are out there, please tell your children to listen to this. Sex before marriage is not acceptable. It's biblically wrong. And there's a lot of disadvantage because you are defining your body. God bless you. Until the time I see you next week, this same time, 7:30, next Wednesday, that we are going to come live again. Sex before marriage is not acceptable. Be a wise builder. Continue to build your home, build your church, build your community, build a temple of God. Take pride in who you are. Take pride in yourself. You are a son and daughter of the Most High God. Until the next time I see you, this Dolakwa Agora, you say, God bless you. Keep winning and keep the flag high. Bye-bye.